Hello, hello. I am Victoria Rabon, sister-in-law to the magnificent Joanna Rabon. She asked me today to put together a little Pilates flow for you guys. So welcome to London. It's a beautiful, gray, dreary day here, but that's okay. We're gonna get moving, we're gonna get grooving, so no equipment needed. Let's just get started. Hands and knees on your mat or on the floor, whatever you're using. We're gonna find a nice long line from the crown of the head to the tip of the tailbone. And just starting with some nice, gentle, deep breaths. Smooth inhale through the nose. Fill the lungs and the diaphragm. And on your exhale, pull those lower abs, floating ribs knit together. And again, inhale, big stretch through the entire torso. And then on your exhale, lift up those lower abs, pull those ribs in. Now starting to add in that cat-cow effect. On your inhale, head and hips reach up to the ceiling. And on your exhale, slow, gentle push away. And we're just flowing with our breath here, really trying to become in tune with our body, feeling how that breath can motivate the movement and how it can really deepen the effect through our core. Breath is so important in Pilates. We want to make sure that we're really utilizing it. Now, making that movement a little bit more organic, let's make some hip circles. Hips forward, off to the side, down to your heels, around and reset. Hips off to the side, down to your heels, around and reset. Let's take one more in this direction, just loosening up that lower back, loosening up the shoulders and the hips a bit, and then we'll start to take it the other way. Now, as you're shifting to those sides, start to feel those lower obliques pull in, giving that nice little bit of support. As you transfer weight from one hand over to the other, feel how the chest starts to engage, a little bit of activity through those pecs. This really is just a beautiful moment to become in tune with your body and just kind of feel how it's working today. Good, now we're gonna go all the way into that cobra. Hip bones come down and forward, lift through the chest. On your exhale, lower abs in, send your hips back to your heels. Little modified child's pose here. And again, hip bones forward, big inhale, stretch it out. And then exhale, scoop those abs in, pull it back. So with this kind of organic flow here, we're just focusing on feeling that release through the joints, making sure everything's smooth today. And again, coming back to that breath. I'm gonna talk about your breath so much. It's gonna become annoying how often I talk about your inhale and exhale, but that's because it's important. That's where we get our energy, and we're gonna use that to really motivate our movement. Let's take one last one here, setting the hips back. Just hold here for a second. Hips to your heels, belly button down to the ground, arms reach forward. Feel that stretch and release through the lower back, nice and smooth. Good, one more deep breath here. And then let's gently bring it back up onto your hands and knees. Nice long spine, and we're gonna go straight into our bird dog. So inhale to prep. On your exhale, you're reaching your right arm, left leg out. And then inhale, gentle release down straight over to the other side. Exhale, left arm, right leg out. And slow, gentle release. And as we're going side to side here, we're really just focusing on maintaining that nice flat back and that symmetry between the shoulders and the hips. So we're not twisting, we're not arching, we're just keeping our back still and in position so that we have to really utilize our core, our glutes, and our shoulders here for this mobility. It's so easy to kind of arch that back, slightly adjust side to side, and put that straight into the spine. But instead, visualize a hand on your six pack, pushing those muscles up to your ceiling, and really try to pull the shoulders out of the ears, keep the legs nice and parallel as you extend those fingertips and toes away from each other, just opening up the space in the body. Now, as you use that exhale, as you reach out, again, your diaphragm's contracting. Your diaphragm's gonna pull in your transverse. Transverse is that bottom layer of your abdominal wall. It squeezes and surrounds the entire torso. And that's just gonna give us that extra little bit of security. And then as you inhale, when hand and knees come down, you can really think about filling your diaphragm with air along with your lungs and just feeling an expansion through your torso. Good, few more here. And the next time you have your right arm, left leg out, we're gonna hold it out here for a second. Now let's pull the shoulders away from the ears, pull those lower abs in tight, make sure hips are both facing down to the ground. We're just gonna tap fingertips and toes down, and then smooth lift up. Little lower, and lift. Now everybody check in with your left arm. Let's try to avoid hyperextension that elbow. So if you feel like you're pushing the inside of your elbow forward, we're locking out the joint. Instead, think point of the elbow out to the side. That's gonna turn your tricep on and help us avoid that hyperextension. Also means you're gonna feel your arm a little bit more, which we love that. Good, 2 more here. And then next time your arm and your leg are up in the air, let's hold it there. Now pull those abs in tight, arm and leg move out on the diagonal, and then pull them back in. And again, little reach out and in. Now as we reach that leg out on the diagonal, there's gonna be a tiny bit of external rotation. That's totally fine, all good here. We just want movement through those joints as well as a little bit more pull through the core. Let's take 3 more. Good. Nice gentle reach for 2. And then final 1. Bring arm and leg back into center and gentle release down. Exhale, left arm, right leg straight out. Hold it here and little tap and lift and tap and lift. So once again, shoulders are out of the ears. Spine is nice and long. Point of the elbow on the right side is going out to the side. Turning on those triceps, avoiding that hyperextension. We're keeping that right hip bone down, avoiding any sort of twisting through the pelvis. We're just gonna take 3 more here. Reach through your fingertips and toes. And 2. Last one, arm and leg stay up, hold it here, and little reach out to the side. And pull it back in. Little reach out. And in, keep that right hip bone down. Keep pulling those lower abs in tight. The more we can engage the core, the easier this is to maintain, and the deeper work we'll find throughout the entire body here. And we just have 3. Good, good, good. And 2. Perfect. Final 1. Bring it in. Gently set that hand down and release. Give a little roll out to your wrists. And as you're doing that, let's straighten those legs out in front of us. We're going to find ourselves nice and high on our sits bones, arms reaching out in front. Big inhale to begin with. And on your exhale, just going to melt down through that spine. 1 bone at a time, like your spine is a string of pearls and you're releasing it bead by bead. As your head settles down, inhale, arms overhead, and exhale, fingertips to the ceiling, chin to your chest. Slow, smooth, gentle lift up. Keep those heels grounded down. Round, 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 round. Last moment, flat spine, big lift up. And again, exhale, slow, gentle release. So you'll notice as we are starting out our little flow, lots of focus is going into our spinal mobility. It's really important that we can find that deep articulation between the vertebrae by utilizing our core here. We want to avoid any sort of pinching in the spine. We want to avoid any pressure around those vertebrae. Instead, it should almost feel like a massage as you're releasing down and have that nice stretch between each and every single bone. Now, of course, to get that nice massage and that nice stretch, we got to use our core. So the minute you start to lift up, it's sternum to belly button, it's floating ribs in, it's belly button scooping in and up. And that final moment, we're high on our sits bones, zippering from pubic bone to belly button. And then right away, slow, gentle release down. It seems like the simplest, easiest exercise possible, but it actually takes a lot of core control. And one of my favorite memories from the Rabon family is while I was going through my Pilates certification, we were just kind of talking about things. We had the whole family together, and Joanna, of course, being as strong as she was, we were going through roll-ups and talking about how intense it was. And then all the brothers, who are quite strong on their own, wanted to join in, and none of them could do it. And let me tell you, those boys all have very strong cores and nice defined six packs, and yet they found this so challenging to keep the heels down and find this mobility. So don't let a simple exercise fool ya. When you're doing it right, when you're focusing on the details, sometimes the simplest things are the hardest to find. Now we're going to take one last one here, nice long line through the spine. And as you release down, pinch those ribs in tight, pinch them, pinch them, pinch them. And then slow, gentle release. Hands come down by your side. Feet are in a V position, heels together, toes apart. Exhale, right leg straight up to the ceiling. And then slow, gentle release down. And exhale, left leg straight to the ceiling. And slow release. Now, as you are lifting those legs one at a time, goal is to keep the legs nice and straight, tailbone stays flat. And we have this micro little lift between the mid-lower back and your mat. So enough that if there was a light right behind you, you could see that light barely peeking through between your spine and the mat. What we don't want to do is tuck that tailbone and imprint to the point that we're forcing our rib cage to over-engage and putting a lot of pressure on the hip flexors. So we're just keeping that nice long spine, nice neutral position, slow, gentle lift and lower. Oh, I made the mistake of putting my ponytail right at that point at the back of my head where it's like hard to get a convenient position for the spine. So if you're in the same position as me, Ponytail's a little in the wrong position, buns in a little wrong way. Bring those hands behind the head. That way you can keep a nice long line to the crown of your head. Make sure chin is even with the chest. No pressure going through the front or back of your neck. Perfect. Now the next time your right leg is reaching up to the ceiling, we're gonna keep that leg up to the ceiling and we're just gonna take little circles. Little wrap around. And as you're creating these little circles, just think tips of the toes reaching up to the sky, trying to elongate your line, and let's take it other way, little around and around. Good, keep those hips nice and still, pull those front two hip bones together. Take one final circle here, and then slow, gentle release down and other way. Exhale, nice big lift up, and little circles out and around. Now, you might be thinking, oh my gosh, this is not nearly the same burn we get from a bar exercise. No, probably not. And you know what? Sometimes a workout doesn't have to be crazy painful. Let's switch directions. Sometimes it's just good to get the body moving and flowing. And my goal here today is that when you finish with this flow, your body just feels better. Maybe nothing's crazy intensely sore the next day or burning, but when you leave, you're like, ooh, my hips feel loose, my spine feels long, and that's great. Go ahead, take one last circle, slow, gentle release down. Now we're gonna bend those knees, place those feet firmly on the ground, take a nice big inhale, and on your exhale, you're gonna lift up head, neck, and shoulders. Hands are either behind your head or down by your side, and then slow release. And again, exhale, slow, smooth squeeze up, and gentle release down. So as you're lifting up, we're pulling floating ribs together, sternum to your belly button. We're keeping those hips as still as possible. So we're not tucking that tailbone as we come up, we're holding it in place. That way we really get that deep squeeze coming through the lower abs, and we're stabilizing the lower body so we feel this full mobility, this full flexion through the upper spine. Good, let's take 3 more here. Use your breath, exhale, smooth lift. Inhale, smooth release. And gentle lift up for 2. Good. And then final one, we're gonna hold it on up, starting with a gentle march out. Right leg lifts up to tabletop, and then you're gonna switch left leg up to tabletop. And as we're switching side to side here, goal is just to keep that six-pack pulled back. So a lot of times we like that six-pack to take over and we feel that little coning effect and it pushes up to the ceiling. Instead, we're pulling it back, making sure we're grounding through our transverse and keeping that pressure off our lower back. Good. Let's take 3, 2, final one, both toes go down, head goes down. And then exhale, knees in, chest up. And then inhale, head down, toes tap. Exhale, curl and squeeze. Now see if you can keep your mid-spine and tailbone as still as possible while you do this. So we're not arching as head and toes come down. We're keeping that back neutral. And then as we lift up, only point of flexion is coming from that upper spine. Let's take 3 more. Good. Slow, gentle release down for 2. Big, big squeeze. Final one. Bring it on up and hold. Now we're gonna twist over to our right knee, left leg goes out, and then switch it on over other way. Twist, 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 and twist. So we're going into our crisscrosses. I know everybody in the world likes to call these bicycles, but we're in Pilates, so we're gonna use the true Pilates name. It's a crisscross. And our goal here is to get both shoulder blades completely off the mat, finding that full release up and over. And we're gonna take 2 more in each direction, evening out between the right and the left side of the body. Last one each side. And then after this next one, you're gonna pull yourself into a ball. Now knees to your heart, hold onto your heels for a second. Feel that deep squeeze. Now reaching those legs straight up to the ceiling, we're gonna go into those long leg single stretches. So lower that left leg down, little squeeze, squeeze through your right leg. And then other way, little squeeze, squeeze. And exhale, switch, squeeze, squeeze. Exhale, switch, squeeze, squeeze. Now if you wanna make this a little more challenging, hands can go down by your side. If you really wanna make this more challenging, hands by your head. As we go for 4, abs in tight, 3, nice long straight legs, 2, final 1, bring those legs together and gentle release down. Good, I'm gonna scoot back a little bit, give myself a bit more space. But let's go ahead and find ourselves, legs parallel, hip width distance, arms down by your side, and we're gonna go into a gentle bridge. So on your exhale, spinal articulation, tuck that tailbone, slow, smooth, gentle reach up, knees toward your toes, heels toward your glutes, and then inhale, smooth release down. Bone by bone by bone. And again, exhale, front 2 hip bones together. Zipper up those lower abs. Peel your spine off the mat, squeeze those glutes, and then slow, gentle release. And as you're moving through your spine here, we're really just trying to activate the back body. So you might notice as your hips get higher and higher, your knees want to pull apart and you want to start to use those external glutes, sides of the legs. We're going to try to avoid that. It's almost as if you had a little grapefruit between your knees and you're just trying to hold that grapefruit in place. So you're not squishing it by pulling your knees together, but you also can't release them out to the side and let it drop to the ground. We're keeping those parallel tracks in the legs. So we're going right underneath the booty, starting to engage through those hamstrings. And then also at the very top of your bridge, it should be a beautiful moment to stretch out those hip flexors and those quads. Good. Now we should never be pushing firmly into the back of the skull. The minute you start to be pushing into the back of the skull, usually means you're overextending through the rib cage and going into like some crazy sort of arch. Your chest is in your chin, you can't breathe, it's not good. So we're gonna keep that engagement there. Might means the hips are a little lower, that's okay. We don't need to touch the ceiling, but we're gonna make sure that we're properly moving through the body here. So much of what Pilates is about control. In fact, Joseph Pilates, when he started all of this, he called it contrology. He did not call it after himself. That happened afterwards. So we're going to take that mindset with us today. And instead of trying to do anything big and brash or worry about how many calories we're burning or anything like that, we're going to focus on control on our body and be really persistent with the minute details and just feel how everything's working together. Now, the next time your hips are up in the air, we're going to hold the hips up nice and high. We're just going to do a little march out with the feet. So you're going to lift your right heel up and then switch your left heel up. We're taking this little release of the feet one at a time so we can get a little bit more heat in the calves. If we can heat up those calves a bit more, hopefully those hamstrings start to feel a little bit more alive. And before you know it, we're going to feel the backs of those legs, everything working together. Now, while your hips are elevated and still in the air, always think of that squeeze inwards, front two hip bones coming together, waistline pulling together, and then that zippering effect, pubic bone all the way up to your sternum. We're pulling things into our center line so we have that control going all the way through our core. Beautiful. Now the next time your right heel is lifted, keep that right heel lifted. We're going to pull that leg up to tabletop, starting super simple. On your exhale, reach it long on the diagonal. Inhale, pull it back to tabletop. And again, exhale, reach it long. Hips stay even in balance. We're utilizing that right oblique. Reach, reach, reach. Squeeze and pull. Reach, reach, reach. Squeeze and pull, pushing into that left heel, keeping the glute engaged to the left side. Left side is what's keeping our hips in the air. Right oblique is what's keeping our hips even. We're really utilizing the body here. We have two more. Good. Final one. Bring it in. Gently set that heel down and left leg lifts up. Make sure hips are even in balance. And exhale. Left leg out and in and reach. And squeeze, keeping that left hip bone even with the right, utilizing that oblique, pushing firmly into your right heel. Really think of pushing into the heel here. That's going to naturally activate the back of the leg, keep glute, hamstring, all that goodness engaged. Exhale, reach. Inhale, reset. We have 3. Nice. And 2. Perfect. Final 1. Bring that leg in, gently set that heel down. Big lift of the hips up, big inhale. And exhale, slow, gentle release on down. Perfect, let's straighten out those legs. We're gonna roll it on over so you are on your hands and your hip bones. We're gonna find those elbows right underneath those shoulders. So we have a nice long line from the crown of the head to our tip of the tailbone. We're pulling those floating ribs in, scooping those lower abs in and up. We're just gonna push to the palms, find that nice little straightening and gentle release down. So we're gonna go into some nice tricep extensions, some sphinx if you would like to call them that. The whole idea here is that we're keeping that back nice and relaxed. We don't want to be using our spine here, it's all about the arms. So we're utilizing the glutes to make sure those hips stay pushed down to the ground. We're utilizing our core to make sure the spine is supported, but the only muscle group that's actively pushing us up and down are our arms. So we're pushing the inside of the elbows forward, getting that nice extension, and then as the points of the elbows come down, gentle release. Now in a perfect world, the space between our shoulders and our ears would never change, because we're keeping those shoulder blades retracted and pulled down. We're keeping that chest nice and open, and again, just maintaining this nice little bit of heat through the back of the arms. Now I like to think of this exercise as kind of a sneaky attack, because I find you can do 10, 15, 20, depends on the person, and feel nothing. And you're just like, Victoria, this is a waste of my time. Why are we doing this? And then bam, out of nowhere, it smacks you across the face, and you're like, oh my goodness, back of my arms are on fire. So that's what we're going for here. We're just gonna hold on for dear life. We're just gonna enjoy it while it's nice and easy. And then the minute we start to feel that heat come alive, we're gonna be like, yeah, We got some triceps going. We got those arms on fire. How many times can I say arms on fire? Probably a few more before the workout's done. Good. Let's take 3 more full range. Keep pushing into those palms. And 2. Last one, hold it up nice and high. Now halfway down, all the way up. Halfway, all the way. Have that control. Shoulder blades together. Rib cage tight, abs in. Let's take 5. Good. 4, 3, 2. We love a countdown. Final one, hold it halfway. Little pulse. Little up. And up. Back of the arms are squeezing. We're just going to breathe through it. Keep that neck long. You can do it. Final 8, 7, 6, 5. She's still a dancer. She loves a countdown. Last 2, 1, and release. Last thing we're gonna do today is a nice little bit of spinal extension. So you're gonna be flat on your back, or stomach, flat on your stomach, fingertips to your temples. Nice big inhale. On your exhale, lift your chest, arms, head, chest, legs come in the air, and then inhale, gentle release. And again, exhale, squeeze those shoulder blades together, squeeze those glutes, big lift, and smooth release down. Flow through the movements, following that breath like we did at the very beginning. You have 3, slow, gentle release. Exhale, lift for 2. Good. Final one, hold it on up. Pull those hands wide, elbows come close to your rib cage, and arms reach straight overhead. Elbows pull back and down. Big, big reach and release. So glutes are engaged, keeping those legs lifted as high as possible. Belly button is pulled in tight, so you have a little pocket of air between your core and the mat. Floating ribs knitted together. Chest is lifted. Let's take 3. Good. 2. Last one, arms are reaching forward, legs are long, and we're gonna do a little flutter. Little kick out here. We're just swimming, keeping those limbs as long and as stretched out as possible as we go for 8, 7, 6, 5. You have 4, 3, 2, 1. Big lift and release. Woo. Very nice. Let's bring it back onto those hands and knees, right where we started our nice little session. And let's take it back to that cat-cow. I love a cat-cow. Feels so good on the body. One of my favorite memories from my Pilates training was my instructor saying, it's not cat-cow, it's angry cat and sexy cat. Because she said, no woman should ever be called a cow. And that just stuck with me. And being a cat owner myself, I was like, you're right, it is angry cat and then sexy cat. Now let's take some twists here. Find a nice long spine. Weight goes into your right arm, left arm up in the air, big inhale. And exhale, thread it under and through. Hold that stretch. Oh. Deep release through the lower back. If you want to deepen it, you can bring that right arm around behind your hip, open up to your heart. Just take a second here. Good. And then gently bring right hand down, weight into your right hand, reset. Switch that weight over to your left arm, big reach with the right arm up in the air. And exhale, thread it through. Hold that stretch. Again, if you want to make it deeper, left hand comes behind the hip. Just breathe into it. And then go ahead, gently bring your left hand back onto the mat, right hand comes underneath. And just find a nice little seated position. Good. Sit up nice and tall. Take a second to release your head side to side. Let's reach those arms out to the side, drop the right hand down, left arm over, big side stretch. And then up and through, other way. Good. Bring it back, let's reach those hands around, fingertips scroll back, thumb forward, big lift of the heart. And then exhale, smoothly reset to center. And you are good to go. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope the body is just feeling looser, nice and limber, stretched out. We found some power throughout the different muscle groups, but more than anything, you connected with your breath and you just feel good to go with the rest of your day. So thank you for joining me. Maybe I'll see you guys around again. Bye-bye.